Hello and welcome to UK Versus. Unfortunately, Undefeated at Locals, due to getting corporate work, is not here yet, but they will be here soon, hopefully. But I am joined by new Keylif main Richard Plummer, who has assured me that he's going to refine his Keylif deck and make it regionals ready in 6 weeks.
Yeah, I don't think that's happening. Hello everyone. So yeah, a little bit late just because I got back late from playing pre-release, which was a lot of fun. And yeah, as Brett said, I did play Keyleth, and a character I hadn't really thought about too much, just because not necessarily my style, but I played her at the pre-release just because that's what my pool said. Like I just had a bunch of characters that wanted things that my pool didn't have, and so she was the least offensive one to put on the front of it. And she was really cool. Like just nobody would hit her at all, and then she'd just tickle you down eventually. Like I played like round one against someone playing Lady Kima, the one that puts a card in the card pool and then gives damage. Yeah. And I think over the course of 2 games, they hit me once or twice.
Getting damage but no speed is kind of an issue.
Yeah. And yeah, could just block for days. And yeah, the card that flips to give +1 to your check equal to the face downs of your opponent, and just being able to constantly rebuy that was just so good. For your check to block even. So yeah, that was so I had a lot of fun with Kima, and then last round I played against Harry. Weekly shout out for Harry, there you go.
Don't you mean hit the deck?
Yes. I was gonna get to that. Yeah, he was playing on Vax, so yeah, he took game 1 because he just was able to rip everything with sweeping daggers. Well, basically I had an Earth Shaker, so the secret rare, which was really cool all day. And then he was able to rip one of those with sweeping daggers, and then eventually got there and ripped my last card, and I didn't quite have enough to block with, because I think every single attack he had was a weapon. And then game 2, I eventually got there, and then we just went to time for, so we ended up sort of drawing. But yeah, the event was a lot of fun. Like I had a lot of fun playing the pre-release. We had sort of 1 or 2 sort of newer guys down, so that was really cool. And then we did a boss battle afterwards. So people couldn't be bothered to build with sealed decks, so we just played constructed decks, but we were all playing critical role characters and kick the pants off Kev deck, which I think it felt like a bit more balanced for the sealed deck characters rather than constructed, because like I just played Percy, and I was just doing things like, okay, I'll play my dual needle lunge, I'll remove a card to give it some speed, I will respond with my science bros, give it some more stats, I'll then respond with all the combined fire powers and send it to you for 15, and it's just, it was silly.
I mean, that still gets you retaliation against you, and Kevdak is not the easiest to take down.
Wait, is he supposed to retaliate every time you do damage against him?
Every time you do over 10 damage.
Right, I think that might be so we didn't get
this
that
might
right.
be why Kevdak wasn't, you didn't feel like, if you do over 10 damage to a boss, they get a retaliation against that person.
Right, okay, yeah, we didn't do that.
Yeah, that might be explaining why you thought it was really easy, because if you're able to smack them with these big stuff without taking any damage back.
Yeah.
It was in my Worlds video, but at Worlds, myself and Nick Reagan sat down, we played against the old Briarwoods, and I switched to W1. I thought, okay, we just went, here's the plan. I'm going to play a foundation. I'm going to be last. I'm going to go last in the turn order. Where I'm going to give +3 to my attack for each of yours. I'm going to play foundation. Then I'm going to give +3 to my attack for each of yours again. Then I'm going to play an attack, and it was like the Briarwood's got the seal, so I didn't get to do my once per game or any of my other stuff to it. So on face, it was an 8 low for 31.
Yeah, we obviously, I guess, when reading through the rules, missed the thing about the retaliation for 10 damage, and that probably would have made a difference. But yeah, I think they feel a bit more balanced, and probably would be more fun if it was just using sealed decks. But like it was okay. Like, probably not something we'll necessarily do all the time. I think I think how well these land is gonna vary based on your play group and what they enjoy.
For the webcam events I've been doing, I have been asking people to use challenger decks because it still gives you that variety, still gives you that different IPs, but the challengers are a bit more kind of not starter level, but not constructed busted, so it does lead to a bit more of a challenge.
Yeah. So I enjoyed the pre-release. They're always fun, and the boss battle was fine.
Mine was supposed to be tomorrow, but it looks like we've had some delays or something got messed about with the fact that Stronghold's closed, so like the products ended up going somewhere else. So it's been pushed back a week. So it's more of a post-release event, but it's close to my birthday, so I'm happy with that.
Fair.
Yes,
it was cool. Like like I said, pre-release is always fun. I still haven't opened a single sweeping daggers, which is sad. But
I opened one before the set even came out. What do you mean?
I know.
Skill issue. But it seemed to be an overwhelming success from what I've seen from Discord. Apart from UGN going down before the events, but luckily they were able to get that rectified fairly quickly.
Well, yes and no. I started on UGN, and then halfway through the event, UGN went down, so we just sort of manually had to do it. So hopefully Gary can enter the stuff.
Yeah, once it's back up, you should be fine. So hopefully you'll get your points for sign up early.
Yeah, I mean, it's just some points. It's not the end of the world. And I guess at this point, I will give Harry a shout out for his what was his channel name? I don't know.
His new TikTok series where he's going to be highlighting cards and decks on TikTok called Hit the Deck.
Yeah, that's it. Hit the Deck on TikTok. If you want to go give him a hate follow, feel free. I think he recorded a bunch of opening his packs at the pre-release for that. So now I'm not the only one locally that can get called a dirty content creator. And he's going to get some of that hate too. But it was cool. It was a lot of fun.
I've seen it on Discord, and I even got tagged in the Project K Discord, where someone went to their first ever Universus event to try out after the announcement. They pulled Grog, and they ended up winning the entire event.
Sweet.
And that kind of brings us on to the other bit of news that we've got the Universus Riot Games collaboration, where UVS are going to be distributing and kind of handling to English-speaking countries distribution of Project K, which is the League of Legends card game.
Yeah, weren't they possibly doing the organised play as well?
Well, the message came that they need to speak to partners, but that doesn't always mean UVS. That could mean other partners as well. It depends on who they've teamed up with, stuff like that. But as far as we know, UVS is handling distribution. Whether they're doing more, we'll find out in the future. But I'm sure Riot Games will do what's best for Project K. But either way, having that UVS sticker on there is going to be great for Universus. And from what we've seen of the articles that Bill and all the testimonials from Bill and Zoe in the Project K announcement, Universus is still a priority and isn't going anywhere with Project K coming in.
Yeah, so I was just checking the article. It says publishing and distribution, so quite possibly they'll internally handle their own organised play. They might again borrow from Universus, who knows. But I think it's more just using their infrastructure right in terms of printing, publishing, distribution. So being able to sort of piggyback and have that working association. And I think it will just end up being good for both companies. Like obviously Riot get the infrastructure from a company that's already selling CCGs. You can look at it from a perspective of why UVS sort of helping a competitor, because obviously they are effectively in the same CCG market, right? But at the same time, Riot, we're going to do this either way, right? So they may as well. So it's better to act on the perspective of, well, maybe a rising tide floats all boats, right? In terms of, if we work together, then obviously they can work in terms of sort of cross marketing. They can, possibly, Riot could do UVS stuff. UVS could possibly do Riot stuff. In terms of organized play, they could have almost joint regionals, that sort of thing. So it's you could have a regional where there's a Project K tournament and a UVS tournament happening at the same time, that sort of thing. So you'd hope there'll be sort of synergies and there's those sort of cross marketing type functions happening there. And ultimately, Riot are huge, right? In terms of like everyone like League of Legends. I don't. I've never played it. I understand what it is. It's like a MOBA that has historically had quite a toxic community, from my understanding, but I've never played it. But it is hugely popular. So if people kind of like, oh, it's a League of Legends thing, I'm going to look into this card game, and therefore that brings more eyes onto UVS, then that's a good thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. And yeah, it's not just League of Legends they're pulling from. They're pulling from Arcane and Legends of Runeterra. And all that, they've already got a digital card game going. So they're pulling from all kinds of aspects with these assets for Project K. And the gameplay is very intuitive and quite easy to pick up. I got my first game in yesterday, which I was able to record, thanks to one of the admins, who's also interested in picking up Universus, so that's quite cool.
And I think they might like live in almost different spaces. Like I think Project K is almost meant to be more like a multiplayer-ish game rather than head-to-head.
Yes and no.
UVS, I think, is more head-to-head, and obviously, I'm sure Project K is you know, you can absolutely play it head-to-head, but I think it's almost designed with the idea of playing multiplayer from the ground up, where that just isn't the case in UVS. Like it's for
Project K are coming in with a community-first aspect for the gameplay of the card game. From the content I've absorbed from other YouTubers and from the announcement videos from like the Lore Masters and the Legends of Runeterra devs that are moving over to Project K, the reason they started off with this 4-player multiplayer thing that's also a 1v1 is because they understand getting the casual players, getting it in stores, getting it on tabletops, getting that word of mouth out there is one of the best ways to crack the market when you're looking at 11 new TCGs coming into the market this year alone, and how many TCGs are already in the market. We are kind of in the second great age of TCGs, where now everyone and anyone is trying to have this collectible card game to make money from collectors and players alike. And
Project K, I mean, and some have been and gone, right? So what was the one?
Battle Spirits has now gone. MetaZoo's on its second life. Keyforge is on its second life.
My understanding is that Union Arena isn't doing great.
Yes and no. I think Bandai are pumping more money than sense into it. But
I think that's a Bandai thing. They tend to support a game for a bit and then just drop it like a hot stone.
I know it's popular, but when we're looking at it from a UK perspective, it's not that popular here. I think it has got a bit of traction in America and possibly Japan, but here not so much.
No, well, they're not. I don't think they've necessarily launched UA over here, but even in America, my understanding is it's not doing great. And you know, ultimately, the market is only going to sustain so many CCGs. So, you know, you just sort of need to do what you can to grab and keep your piece of the pie. So hopefully this will help both UVS and Riot Games maintain part of that market.
Oh, 100%. I'd absolutely love to see.
And like, it makes sense from Riot's perspective to come in with the multiplayer thing. Like, if you just like, Magic is like either the second or third biggest. Pokemon is by far the biggest, and I think it's either Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh being the second. But like, you know, the vast majority of their player base is like Commander is what sells Magic these days. So it makes sense to come in with, you know, that sort of a player base in mind. Like,
yeah, it makes sense. In the video where I was doing the announcements, I chuck on my little fear in the end. And one of the things I would love to see is, because we have 5 challenger decks that have not been announced, it'd be very cool towards the end of this year, like our December ones, to be
5.
Yeah, it would be League of Legends challengers that have characters that basically have a flip side that have also work as League of Legends champions.
Maybe. I didn't think, because we obviously cut back the amount of challengers this year.
We're getting 8 pre-cons, but I do believe on Discord, UVS mentioned that starter decks don't count because they're not competitive cards, they're onboarding cards. So challenges don't count as pre-cons. So we've got the 2 Street Fighters and Soul Leveling as the only pre-cons that count. So there's still 5 more to go.
Yeah, and
my understanding of it as it was. I thought we only had like a couple left to go because we got the 2 soul leveling, we got the 2 critical role, and now we have 4 turtles. But that would now mean that we have 9 products when they said we're only getting 8. So it kind of breaks the pan.
Well, the turtles is one deck, right? That has effectively all 4 turtles.
You see, it's a weird. The wording's weird because it says the deck only contains 1 character, but then at the bottom
Yeah,
says 4 ready to play turtles.
Yeah, I expect it'll be all of them on one card, maybe, or something along those lines. Well, I mean, we'll see.
It's a weird
whether they're counting like the starter decks, which obviously they're now called, or whether that's just challenger decks. But obviously, I think one of the things, obviously, that came out on what Paul said was they really want to cut back on the amount of challenger decks because they realized that it was too many last year. Yeah, we'll see how many they actually end up releasing. But
exactly. But with Heroes of Exandria coming in on Friday, we are having a fair number of cards rotate out, a lot more than last year. And as one of the biggest Crimson Rampage supporters in the community, I think I'm probably the most vocal person that says Crimson Rampage is a very good set. I wanted to...
it's a good set. It's just it's weirdly distributed in terms of where that power level lies. Like there aren't many great URs. None of the characters are amazing or hugely appealing, and a lot of the power level is just in the commons and stuff. So that's why it just wasn't a very appealing set to open from that perspective. Like there was some decent URs, but like nothing hugely exciting. And like that's what you want, those hits at those higher rarities, right, to pop, and that's part of the reason. But yeah, it's our first almost true rotation, right? Yeah, we lost set 1 in the first one, but this is obviously the one where we lose a good chunk of the card pool.
We don't lose our first challenges till next time, but once Undefeated Locals gets here as well, we'll go over a lot more cards. But we're just going to talk about our favorite cards from the sets, cards we're happy to see go, cards we're going to miss a lot, and kind of talk about how this is going to shape the meta and what decks kind of suffer the most for it. And I mean,
I guess we can maybe, rather than necessarily go into individual cards to begin with, just I guess talk about the sets as a whole.
Yeah, well, we can talk about sets, but we can also talk about highlight cards and highlight symbols. Because...
I was going to say we'll get to that in a bit. Maybe just talk about more as like holistically to begin with, and then Marvin can come in. We can talk about more specifics.
And we also lose the set 2 and set 3 DLCs. So the Pussycats leave before really making their mark. Tiger is gone. That's a real shame. And we also lose learning the standards from the Plus Ultra stuff, which is an
we lose the quirk packs, right? So we do had quirk packs. So we had quirk packs for both of them, which obviously had impact for cards. We lose the Plus Ultra ones for both of them, and we lose the regional ones for both of them.
A quirk pack that was part of the top box toppers.
Yeah. Learning standards was a quirk pack in set 2.
Yeah.
And then, but like I say, we lose the quirk packs, we lose the Plus Ultras, we lose the DLC, we lose the provisional promos. So there's a lot that goes along with them. I think set 2 is one of those ones that probably aged better out of the 2 of them. Simply because there was a lot of staples, and I think actually when you look at having to rebuild decks and what decks you're looking at, you're going to miss more cards from set 2 than you will do from set 3 overall, I would guess. And maybe I think the ones from set 2 hurt the most.
Depends on your symbol, but I mean, even when they were meta relevant, set 2 arguably had a bigger impact because look at the ban lists. A lot of cards from set 2 got banned or errated quite quickly.
I think set 3 has the most banned, right?
No.
Errated. Like, how many in set 2 got banned?
Ready, Get, Set, Go, Back Alley Haymaker, Kirishima 2 was errated.
Yeah.
I've taken down my board, but up until like the second half of last year, set 2 was kind of dominating, but then we got One with Nature and then Azure joined from there.
Yeah, and then we got Ojiro. Yeah, I'm sure.
I don't think anything else from set 3 got banned. But then you got to think
I might be misremembering. I just
Game of
thought there
Toga
was
was a
more.
massive staple. Toga 1 was an absolute beast with the ambush
Hmm.
alleyway ambush, which didn't really hit too much over here because to go back in our way back machine, set 1 dropped May 2022 for us internationally, and then in
Yeah.
June or July 2022, set 2 dropped. So the meta kind of Twisters got banned like there. Set that, but we also didn't get a pre-release for
No.
set 2, so we didn't get the alleyway ambush. So it kind of created this power vacuum of people who had them who didn't. And at that time, it was also
Yeah, I mean,
when
I only got mine when I went to Vegas the first time, and I got them from Sean.
because that was around the time that Rochester CCG stopped sending stuff
Mhm.
over because Brexit kind of went into full effect, and it was just more trouble than it was worth to send stuff over. Redemption was taken out. We couldn't take part in events without having some like locker or something over there. It was a really dark time
Mm.
for the start of the game to be in a situation where you couldn't really play because I think April, May you could still jump into events, and the UK got kind of lucky that our set 1 stuff arrived March time, but wasn't officially released in the UK, but we could still play.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'm just looking at the ban list. So I guess whether you count Recovery Girl from set 3 in terms of obviously she only got a kneecap right at the very end, but also set 3 had snack time. So both of the discard for do stuff on
Okay.
eventually went. And yeah, back alley and ready set go so from set 2.
Yeah.
So
But up and like set 2 can dominate, but set 3 still has its powerhouses. Set 3 has arguably a bit more staples, but Twisties Zone definitely counts. And Twisties Zone's now completely gone outside of spotlight because it's also banned in retro, which is a bit of a shame. But I know you were saying that there was characters that weren't quite impact. Oh no, Monomer got errated as well.
yeah, I mean that was just more like that wasn't really power level errata, right? That was just more.
See, that's kind of the same as recovery. It's kind of a recovery goal one. It stopped him from doing broken things in very.
Oh, there was no. I mean, that was just to stop a weird interaction happening. Recovery goal was
It still counts to the matter, but yeah, set 2 has some of the more interesting characters that really didn't get their day in the sunlight. Because apart from Toga 1, not too many people know the cards. But
yeah, I mean, no one played Dabby.
look, as of Friday, because there's no other major events, I have cemented my name as the best Dabby 1 player in the world. I'm the only person to take him to Worlds. I mean, that's how it works.
Yeah, I mean, Midoriya 2 popped up every so often. Like I always thought Midoriya 2 was better than people gave him credit for.
Promos. He had so many promos.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Midoriya 2. Like May didn't really do anything. Obviously, Mina eventually got there, right? Like Mina 2 eventually got there, and she was really good for like a year or so.
Fourth Kind, however,
fell off a little bit.
Fourth Kind was an absolute beast, and I'm sure.
Yeah, Fourth Kind was a proper
people
powerhouse.
Very sad that put Fourth Kind go. Cementos made a name for himself as one of the toughest decks to build going for a while.
Yeah, Shiozaki, Tim Keith had a good run with Shiozaki. Mineta 2 was always a bit of a menace.
I'm sure Guile and Richard Osley are going to be very sad Mineta 2's gone.
No one is sad Mineta 2. Obviously, Kirishima 2, got kneecap because he did too much. Obviously, we still got Uwabami and stuff, so she got reprinted. I guess
got reprinted, but Cannon Blast is gone. Cannon Blast was an absolute nightmare to deal with for a while.
Yeah, I'm just thinking the other characters, right? So it's just sort of set 2. Obviously, Selkie, they actually printed some stuff that works with Selkie, and he still wasn't great.
I got very sad at Worlds when I saw a top 8 Selkie for $30. I was like, why did I hold on to mine?
Yeah, like Gunhead was terrible. Armor 2 was bad.
Oh no, as of Friday, we need to find the new worst character in the game.
Yeah. Nomo 2 wasn't good. Denki 2, I think, was sort of cool, but it wasn't good. Snipe was fun. Snipe was a fun one.
Snipe was great. Time was great.
Snipe, was our third member on our team winning, like our team's winning team. Cementos was cool. Ectoplasm never did anything. Ingenium, only Tim Keefe ever loved Ingenium. Yeah, Fourth Kind was obviously a big player. Tetsu never did anything really.
Tetsu showed up on streams and
Yeah, he'd pop up
more.
every so often, but very rarely.
Stain didn't really do anything.
Yeah, Eda 3 was sort of cool, but never did anything. Present Mike 2, none of the Present Mikes have ever been good. Yeah, Monomer, obviously, I'm the world's biggest Monomer hater, but, he did occasionally show up as like maybe a sideboard character more than anything, unless you're Nathan Squire or my child who loved Monomer as well. Mineta 2 was a meta player. Shizaki, again, dipped in and out so often. I've had some fun with Shinzo. Again, he's not good, but I've had some fun with Shinzo. Toga obviously was a big player.
Yeah.
Zero 2 was never really good. Tokiyami 2 was never good. Endeavor was probably better than we were maybe giving credit for, but again, wasn't really
Endeavor's
very good.
big issue was that Endeavor 2 came out fairly quickly, which was better, and then Endeavor 3 came out a year later, which was infinitely better.
Yeah, like obviously, Dabby did some things sometimes. Stain.
Dabby did things for me and occasionally for Crossfade on the Hatefish, but apart from that, nobody else really played a Dabby.
Yeah, Stain was again cool, but again, never did anything. Todoroki 2 was always that, it was always the Todoroki 2 problem. Any sort of range attack. You take a range attack.
Todoroki 2, just unfortunately never got to really pump.
Yeah, you'd have a range attack and you'd think this looks really good in Todoroki 2. And remember that you only get to make one attack per turn look really good, and otherwise you're blank. And that was always the issue.
I mean, the same can be said for Toga 3. You just got that additional thing of I'm going to commit you out while I do my own thing.
Yeah, I mean, she's still got more going on, right? Achako wasn't good. Achako 3 wasn't good.
Achako 3 is great, but 25 health was too much of an overthink. You put that as a 28, 29, you maybe going to see a bit more play. And if you... if that was printed today, it'd be like draw a card, discard a card. In your turn, discard a card. You get to just draw a card in your opponent's turn.
Like Mina 2, like I say, Mina 2 was one of the a terrible character for so long, and then they printed breakdancing and more sport, and all of a sudden she was a big player. May was always just a really cool character that just never. There was never a format where she ever had long enough to do the thing. She was one of those, if you can give me 3 or 4 turns, I'm going to be great, but, you'd never give her 3 or 4 turns.
Yeah, a lot of these characters like Shinzo and Mei and a lot of the slower characters just suffered because Ojiro 3 came out. And
she just needed too long to set up.
Yeah.
Back and Go 2, again, was one of those cards that was really cool, but no one ever really did anything with him, but probably could have been explored more. I love Midoriya 2.
Yeah, Midoriya 2 and Toga were definitely the most played.
Yeah. Gran Torino, unfortunately, I'm sorry, Alban, you were never good. I even tried you recently-ish, when I think it was AOT came out, and it was like, there's some really cool charge and furies and kicks, and we can do some stuff, and it just,
I think the fact that he removed before damage was the big issue, because you just didn't get to get the damage in as well.
Yeah, it's just... Yeah,
the characters weren't great, but the cards in the set especially set 2, kind of became staples. Bacal Haymaker got banned because it was just really good. Apparently, there's only one card that says Haymaker on it that people just don't want to play, and that's the one that's actually called Haymaker.
Hey, I put that in some decks.
I put that into decks, but it doesn't see a lot of universal play. But one of the big things we are losing with set 2 and set 3 going is zero diffs.
Yeah.
We're losing Easily Excited, we're losing Basic Training, we're losing Surviving the Finals. There's a lot of zero diffs going, and if AOT 2, Origins of Power, and Critical Role Heroes of Exandria are anything to follow on, we're not going to see those replaced.
No. So, we lose Surviving, Floating. Sometimes you might play Internship with Best Genius. easily excited basic training, quick to act, like acrobatic. Sometimes you play it on similar if you need another zero. Battle resolve, you never really played. But like
Pony loses. What's the enemies necessary?
yeah, I mean, just talking about the zeros, right? And this is obviously it's clear in terms of the way they've printed recent sets that they are really moving away from zero diffs, and I think that's probably correct. So obviously, in AOT one we had all the 0-5 blankies.
Yeah.
In AOT two we didn't get any. Was there one
In Heroes of Exandria, there's 1 0 diff, but it's an asset.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of there were some in the. I know in Star Trek there were some, but again they weren't great.
They were
I don't know
attuned.
if you've got any in solo leveling.
If we're only seeing certain symbols get them in challenges, we means we're only like seeing 1 a year for each symbol. And I think it was just to give those symbols a 0 diff that didn't get them in AOT, because as they phase out, it would have been weird to go into like a standard area where ones like water and void didn't have 0 diffs.
Yeah, so I think it's more that like they're obviously phasing away from 0 diffs actually doing stuff, right? I mean, some of the better symbols are going to be currently the ones that actually have zeros that do something because they can build harder.
Yeah.
Like, your Botan's coaching symbols, things like that. But there's obviously a design philosophy here of moving away from powerful zeros. And I think that's okay. Like, when you're maybe on a 2-2-1-1 or a 2-2-1-2 sort of build curve. And like for too long, our zeros have been too good. And maybe the 0-5 blankies are not necessarily the way to do it, but just having a very modest effect on the zero, because there is a lot of power built into the fact it's a 0-5, just inherently. So, just like I think maybe the Godzilla ones are like in the sort of best place where it's like 0-5 flip for 1 damage or -1 damage or 1 speed or something, just a very modest effect, because you are getting a lot built into being able to go 3-2-1-0, right?
I'm very intrigued to see how Death and Chaos are going to recover from the defensive pieces they've lost, because you've lost Struggling with Studies, which is absolute menace of a card. It kind of punishes your opponent for stringing. Now that's gone, you've got your cards in your hand, you've got your draw power. I don't have to worry about this. And if we'll see the destruction mechanics coming back, because although it wasn't seeing much play recently, if destruction mechanics ever came back, Chivalrous Competitor was immediately just going to get added back to decks. Now that that's gone, I don't really think we have anything that can negate destruction. It more just benefits from destruction.
Sort of. Although I do believe our special guest has joined us. Hello, Marvin.
Hello,
so yes,
he's not actually in yet.
Okay,
you're talking to yourself, Richard.
Okay. Well, people watching will have to take my word for it that Marvin has joined us, and he will be on screen and you'll be able to hear him very shortly.
Ooh.
Just while Brett gets that set up. So yeah, we just been.
There we go, and you should be here. So hello, Marvin of Is it Undefeated at Locals or Defeated at Locals?
Yes, sir. Undefeated at Locals. Hopefully.
Thank you for joining so quickly after work. So welcome. Would you like to just introduce yourself? We were just kind of riffing about set 2 and the highlights of it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Some of you guys may have seen my channel, Undefeated at Locals. Super appreciate Universus for having me on. Richard has appeared in some of our videos here recently. But yeah, I'm very happy to see Struggling with Studies gone, guys.
I'm not.
I'm not.
There's one so as much as Richard likes to joke that I love Double Jab Pummel, I haven't played it in about a year and a half. However, I have played, apart from when I played Midnight, because I physically wasn't legally allowed to play it, I have played Cheerful Uppercut in every single deck that's allowed it.
Mm-hmm.
To the point when I was playing Godzilla and Younger Toguro, I put it in there for the mirror matches, and people got annoyed with me because it was actually really good against them.
Yeah, and you played it in Mimic.
And I played it. Mimic was playing it anyway, but I got. I'm going to just tell the story again. I've told it like 3 times already, but I played against a friend, Stephen Claxo, who at the beginning of last year in April, when we had the Younger Toguro mirror, I played Cheerful up against him, and he hated it because he kept ending his strings. And then I was playing Mimic, I was stringing out, and he blocks me with a Cheerful Uppercut in his Godzilla deck. I'm like, who runs Cheerful Uppercut in Godzilla? But you did, and I stole it. It's like, God damn it. I'm really sad to see that go. I don't know what I'm going to replace it with.
But yeah, so I guess the thing we were talking about just before you joined, Marvin, was like the zero diffs. And we're losing a lot of them, and I guess the effect it's going to have on deck building, and I guess it's just sort of signifying a bit of a design philosophy shift away from them.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, like I overheard you mention like a lot of these are like blank cards now, right? Like it's an actual cost to run zero diffs in your deck if you want them, as they're basically being built face down in all intents and purposes. And I also like that. We've seen like the history of the game, zero diffs have like they started broken in MHA1, right? You had your it can't be fixed, you had your releases. Those cards were just like those cards took the effect of like a 3 diff that we have now, you know. So they got lowered in power, but like things like basic training, easily excited, we're still seeing like way too much play across like every symbol on those cards.
Yeah, like the most recent sort of busted-ish one is like Botan's, right? And that's why it's like a $20 rare or whatever it is now.
Yeah. Discard, draw, like interrupt your opponent's hand on offense is absolutely insane.
Yeah, so you know, I think that's good for having less turn 2-y sort of games of, you know, people having to build on more fair build curves rather than full of zeros, or if they're playing zeros, then they're just blankies in their stage.
I mean,
but
they
yeah,
have talked about wanting to slow the game down and have turns end on turn 4 and 5 rather than 2 and 3. And I guess if you nerf zeros into the ground, you kind of force more build turns. So rather than actually changing aggressive cards and control cards, rather going, you're going to be slowed down or you're going to be punished for playing like trying to do aggressive builds by having cards that essentially do nothing on your stage.
Yeah, for sure. That's something me and Richard talked about in like our ponies video. I fully believe that like the cards that people are talking about for like pony and these other aggressive decks are not actually the issue. The issue is that they had things like new training method and a bunch of zeros that would let them just rocket to 7 foundations on turn 1 with absolutely no punishment whatsoever.
So seeing as we've got one of the best pony players in the EU and one of the best pony players in NA, let's talk about what pony's losing out in set 2 and 3 and how her matchups into Heroes of Exandria are going to be, because Pony versus Grog seems to be that Pony now needs to slow down and actually think.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough matchup for her. She has to, like, funny enough, I think she'll have to utilize cards from Heroes of Exandria, like Scanlan's Hand, to, like, try to attempt to, like, commit Grog's character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think she just has to play differently, like pre-rotation. And, you know, this is, I think, why, you know, when we had our video together, I was just surprised it just probably wasn't seeing as much play as she should. And then obviously everyone would have played it at Worlds. And I think that's because the deck was sort of cracked. And like you could just spew damage and spew attacks and to an extent sort of ignore what your opponent was doing. And, you know, things like Weather Blades would get you around stuff like the DR, and you could just build hard, and you had so much card draw within your attacks, your stage, and just your cyclers. And then you've got things like Sacrifice of the Cause. That means actually you don't need to throw 12 attacks. You can throw 4 and they've all got +5 damage on them. Like you can manipulate your game plan as you need to. But you know, if your opponent even remotely disrespected you, they were just dead. Whereas that just isn't the case anymore. I don't think the one thing she's going to miss more than anything is just consistency. Like the amount of consistency that new training method and any means necessary And then to an extent, Chivalrous as well, although, that's a little bit more replaceable. Just the amount of consistency that gave to the deck in terms of just being able to kill someone, and
Yeah,
that's what he
sure.
loses.
Yeah,
So,
she loses like seizing the advantage, which could take out like their one piece of interruption. Now they're gonna permanently have that piece.
Yeah. So I think it's like, I think she's still going to be good. I think she gets brought right back down to the pack. And you might have to think about different game plans or different symbols. Like you might want to play like a more sort of on air, like things like, Krakens and Walk the Dogs sort of package with other sort of other, 4 diffs. With your moths and your lethal slashes, you might want to go down that sort of route and play more impactful stuff rather than just effectively 4 damage cycle type stuff. You might want to look at a fireball. Perhaps you might need to think about main decking things like Scanlan's Hand for those characters or foundations and stuff you can't defeat. You might need to play more of a momentum based game plan where you're not trying to necessarily kill in one turn. You sometimes might have to, but you might have to play a bit more actual real defense, because although the character does a lot of lifting, you might have to play a bit more when actually in your stage. So yeah, I don't know where she sits. I think she ends up not being the best 7-hand aggro character. I think that's possibly one of the new characters that takes that mantle now, but she's still going to be good, right?
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, there's a ton of 7-handers in Heroes of Exandria that can definitely usurp her. You have Percy, even Jester. People kind of trashed on Jester when she was first revealed, but now that people are actually testing, have the cards in hand, this character can kind of just sling 8 attacks at you for no cause.
Yeah, there's stuff you can do. I think Percy's the one that stands out to me. Yeah, but I guess in terms of obviously Pony gets hit quite hard with the rotation, but yeah, there's just so many cards we're missing. So I guess Marvin, is there some that you're going to miss the most?
New training method for sure.
Yeah.
A little bit of history about me: I've never top cut an event without new training method in my deck. So yeah, no, I will definitely be missing that card the most across the board.
That's fair.
And is there any cards that you're just happy to see leave the format, apart from Struggling with Studies?
Yeah, struggling is a big one. I'm mostly an aggressive player, so there's definitely a bit of bias there of I don't want you to loop your defensive piece, but also Krista decks like that looping Runaway I think was a pretty big issue. Those cards definitely were not intended to be played 3-4 times across the turn. So things like that. A personal pick of mine is Mineta 2. Very, very happy to see Mineta 2 finally out of the format forever. Every single event I've ever played at, I've literally all of them, I've fought a Mineta 2, sometimes the single Mineta 2 in the field. And so I'm very happy to be gone with that luck.
Yeah, same. And I know some people love the Mineta 2 life. I did not. Yeah, and struggling I'll miss struggling, but also I won't miss struggling. I enjoy playing with it, but at the same time, it was always one of those cards that was yeah, this could probably get banned, sort of thing. So yeah, but
as an aggressive player, Marvin, are you excited or upset to see learning the standards leave? Because you kind of want them to stop hitting you, but you also don't want to stop hitting them.
Yeah, for sure. No, I'm actually excited. Things like that and new training method. Again, I can't let my bias go to Struggling with Studies and not go to those cards. I'm very happy that these aggressive decks don't get to build 11 foundations on me without punishment. And I'm very happy that they don't get to build a single piece of interaction in their staging area that completely stops their opponent's turn. Learning the standards, though, does suck for the decks that weren't aggressive, right? That were using it against the aggressive decks.
Yeah.
So you'll have to go to things like Airy Smiles, even solo leveling, the teleportation stone.
Yeah.
So thankfully those pieces of interaction still exist, but I'm very happy that things like Pony don't get to use them.
Yeah.
I think putting them on actions and assets is better than foundations because, one, it's a lot harder to interact with the assets and the action stopping, but two, it also means that, like you're saying, people can't build up to 11 foundations and immediately go, yeah, I'm out of deadlock. on face.
Yeah,
there's a little more of a cost to them, right? There's a more of a cost to playing actions and assets in your deck.
You add into progressive to kind of do it, but yeah. Makes no sense unless you of course your Vax who goes, haha, what's progressive?
True.
But yeah, I'm gonna honestly I'll miss the Fury package a lot. Like, obviously Fury still exists, but like the things that made the Fury package cool, those are the ones that are going. So Howitzer Impact Cyclone, Prominence Burn. I was a big fan of Hellflame Stomp, although that never ever got played ever. I was the biggest Ignited Arrow hater, so we can ignore that one. Rapid Punches and Harlem Mirage, like the Bert and Ernie package.
Stun Grenade.
Trying to think. Yeah, Stun Grenade. Stun Grenade was so good. I love Stun Grenade so much, and that's going. So that Fury package has taken such a big hit.
Yeah, for sure. I think they're gonna have to figure out a lot more than like Pony ever will. Like they got like completely eviscerated, which is crazy.
I'm sure some people will be sad to see Ignited Arrow go as well.
I'm not. I hated that card. I mean, I'm sure there were decks that could play it. It was fine. And it did its. There was something about that card I just thought was terrible. I just hated ever playing that card. And just felt like it was bad, and people just played it too much. But again, that possibly is just my own bias.
It was guaranteed damage or find me another attack. It was fine.
It's just 4 damage. Who cares?
It's not just 4 damage in a lot of decks.
Yeah, some decks it was fine. But yeah, I'm just a hater. That's just what it was.
That's fair. I saw somebody in Discord saying that card could see like a Critical Role promo, and I kind of agree. You got things like Arrogant Smirk and like something called Ignited Arrow would fit right into that set.
Especially
so they could start bringing some of those things back, right, if they wanted to.
Yeah, I could see Vex or like kind of go with like a Caleb kind of reprint, because one of the cool things I did see on Heroes of Exandria is kits aren't a thing. You have like Caleb on attacks and foundations that have nothing to do with his character. It's basically just putting the symbol on the card that's best for the card rather than trying to make it fit in with the symbol identity of the character.
So, yeah, which is really, really awesome. Yeah, no, I'm really hype on what they've done with the design of this set.
Yeah, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. I guess, is there a card? I guess, did you have like a pet card that you loved and you just felt should have seen more play and never did?
Ooh, that's a good question.
For Richard, it's Prominence Burn.
No, that saw at least some amount of play.
It's going to be a fun year of Nathan complaining that he doesn't get to play Prominence Burn.
Yes, true.
Fair. I think mine would be Airstream Driver. I played it a lot, but like not many people played it. I played it in like all my 3. I think that card like was just like the most heavy hitting, like just completely punishing somebody playing defensively with like blocks, So I was a big Airstream Driver enjoyer.
That's fair.
Yeah, Airstream Driver is an absolute menace. For me, is a card that I ran religiously up until Godzilla, because it was just described as being too defensive for the meta, was Graceful Maneuvers, because it basically just went, this attack gets -2 speed and ignores progressive.
Yeah, it's crazy that people like picked up Rifle Arm and like never played Graceful Maneuvers.
I played it religiously. I played it for 2 years straight. It was great.
That card's awesome. Yeah, I was really surprised that people were like so hype on Rifle Arm and Graceful Maneuvers was just sitting right there the whole time.
Yeah. So for me, it's sort of I'm torn between 2. So it's either Hellflame Stomp. Just the amount of times I'd be like building like a Fury package, and I was like, right, I need a low block. Hellflame Stomp does the thing, great. And it felt like a little kind of, it was fine. It was either a 6 low 4 or a 4 low 6. And just did the thing. It was a Fury. It was a 4 diff. It had a 1 low block, and it just fit the numbers. And like, was never great. But I'd always find room for Hellflame Stomp in my decks. Or the other one that I just loved playing so much, and that was Rebound Sidekick. Yeah. Like, I played so much of Rebound Sidekick, and it's not a good card, but I loved it. Like I played the hell out of it in kicks, all for one. Like it was just like always a guaranteed momentum. They're either taking 4 or they block it, it clears your progressive great. And and sometimes that momentum enhance sometimes came up. And I just again it was a card that I enjoyed more than the card warranted being enjoyed.
No, I mean that's a lot fair. I think character-wise, the one I'm going to miss the most, well, the two I'm going to miss the most that kind of were really cool design-wise that never really saw the heyday, is Mandalay and Ragdoll. They had really cool designs, and I even won a French webcam provisional with Mandalay versus Tokiyami because we just basically turned to each other repeatedly. And I think Ragdoll just never. There was so many cool things coming up. Ragdoll never got the time and effort put into her by people to actually pop off and go, I can actually tutor for anything with all these cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, yeah, the cats were dope. I played Tiger like a whole ton, like when he first dropped. Yeah, I loved that DLC.
Yeah, Tiger's absolutely lovely, and I think that's the first character I mentioned when we were talking about set 3 is the fact we're losing Tiger, losing like a lot of the cat cards. Fancy Feast got a bit weaker, but then Critical Role came in with here's a cat card.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, characters like that. I think like you guys, like your area kind of like was able to like take this character and like actually try it. But like Koji Koda, like NA never really like did anything with that character, and we definitely should have because like all the ally stuff this character has gained the last 3 sets is absolutely insane.
Yeah, I think that was a Hardiman special, right? Of right, how many times can I play Tasty Riff? And he and I think Greg Moss did really well with Coda at a couple of events.
So at last year's Last Chance qualifiers, I believe Greg played Coda, but Mike didn't. And Mike's feedback from Last Chance qualifier was, if he'd have trusted his gut and played Coda, he'd have probably made it to Worlds. His Coda deck was nasty. And like you said, it's one of those things that different regions kind of also push the other cards. So we don't really have Minata players at this like last year, but then you've got Richard Osley out in OCE religiously pumping Minata to the point where I was expecting to play at Worlds at Nats and OCE. There's only one reason he didn't play it at Nats OCE this year. He was organising it, so couldn't play.
Oh, I've had to put up with Mineta 2 a lot. My local Jordan, he loves playing Mineta 2. Like Mineta 2 and the cover girl were just his wheelhouse. And we all hate him for it.
My local 6 was a Minata stan. He was going to play it at regionals in April, so I brought Younger to go down and showed him why that was a bad idea. And then he's now working on a Titanstone Knuckle overhaul list. Now Minata's gone.
Fair.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's 2 characters I think that stand out to me that I'll miss. One of them, I'm just going to miss Shinzo. Like, every so often, he was just the guy I couldn't quit because I love the idea of playing the Haunting of Hitoshi Shinzo and doing cool things with that. And it was never good. His defensive response was terrible and never did anything. Giving +2 speed to everything was fine, but he was a 719 and wasn't very good. But I couldn't quit Shinzo, and every so often I'd go back to him. And the other one
should have been a thing.
And the other one was Midoriya too. I mean, he died when the good punch package died when set 1 got rotated. But man, like when back in sort of, I guess it would have been like the set 4, set 5 meta. I had so much fun with Midoriya too. I loved it. And again, I always felt like he was just better than his results gave credit for. But I love Midoriya too.
How about yourself, Marvin? Any characters that you're going to miss off playing?
Yeah, I'll rip 2 like you guys did. First one is Mei Hatsume. 1, I think that character was just so much fun. Having like her little box full of babies, always being able to build that asset. Even like later on, being able to like find ways to remove the asset and then rebuild it, like with Momo's card that lets you like remove assets for powerful and whatnot. The character was awesome, like up until like the day she rotates.
It was also the thing that you got to play a 56 card deck.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, legally got to just absolutely be the most aggressive thing in town. That deck was dope.
We sort of briefly covered this earlier with May, is that she was always really cool, but there was never a format where she was allowed those 3 to 4 turns she needed to set up to get going as a front-hander.
Yeah, we've seen so many of her cards like played, obviously, you know, like in like early day mimics, like floating around my babies, the zero diff is like pretty much always seen play across the format.
Yeah.
But she never got to utilize them. And then an absolutely terrible character, but one that I always play at locals is Stain One. That guy never did anything. I was always defeated at locals when I played that guy, but that guy was sick.
Stain One did stuff. It's just he couldn't do it consistently enough to go to an event with it.
For sure.
I am contractually obligated to say that my first pick for the character I'm going to miss the most is Dabby One. And we highlighted my disappointment that the Dabby 3 promo that we got for the season 2 last year has the Dabby 1 symbols. So someone out there went, let's reprint Dabby 1, and someone went, no, because Brett will be insufferable for another 2 years. But so yeah, Dabby 1 is gone. I officially hold the title as world's best Dabby player in Standard forever. That is how that works. Yeah. No one can ever play him again in Standard unless he gets a reprint, which is not going to happen. But other than that, it's really hard to say, because I kind of like all the characters for like local playing along those kind of lines. But I guess it would possibly just be Cementos. He never won an event, but always came close. He kind of got when he got his heyday, he just got blown out by aggressive decks, but they didn't let him set up. But the moment he set up, and the aggressive deck didn't find their pieces, they just weren't touching him.
Yeah,
I like the idea of a character that's hand size just keeps getting bigger.
Yeah, no. When that guy first got revealed, I thought he was gonna like break the format in half with his abilities.
Well, things like new training method and all the flip effects for cost, he kind of did. It's just he couldn't do it consistently enough to keep up with Ojiro and then Mirio and Overhaul and then Younger to Go and then Godzilla, who went, oh, look at all those FaceTime cards and they're gone.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure would suck if they all got blown up.
Yeah, again, had that sort of May problem of like, can I have like maybe 2, 3, 4 turns to just get going and then I'm going to be awesome? And it's like, yeah, but I'm going to go, Dark Shadow Ruin into Summon Dark Shadow and then you're just dead.
That was my turn with May every time. Like, if you guys let me build my 4th box, I promise I'll kill you. And they're like, no, I'll just kill you this turn instead.
Yeah, exactly. How about I go, Electric Jolt into the explosion thing, the 3 diff that goes to momentum. That's some sort of collection of cards that just kills you. It's like, well, I was going to go do cool things next turn, and you ruined everything.
Yeah,
there was just some of those characters like May, like Cementos, that just was going to do cool things, but they never got that breathing room to ever do those.
But not
things.
All the cards are gone, which is kind of cool. Some got reprinted, some kind of snuck their way through with the extra credit promos, because we still have a set 1 card that's legal at the moment, and now we've got League Interview, which is sneaking through on the extra credit promos. Faith Shield got reprinted, Shibara got reprinted. Is there anything else that kind of snuck its way?
High value target enforcing surrender.
High value target got through on the on the extra credit.
Yeah, so League Interview. So yeah, Toru and Invisible Infiltration, obviously they got reprinted.
Yeah. So we made it through. Faith Shield sticking around is a good one.
Yeah, I think Faith Shield's a nice, fair defensive piece to have in a format. Just looking through, I guess, like the assets and actions, we're losing some good ones in that section. We're losing Blood Curdle, we're sort of getting it back in Scanlan's hand to an extent. But my beloved Sugar Rush is going.
It may be a controversial or hot take, but I think Scanlan's hand is better than Blood Curdle. Yes, it costs more, but it has more effects for the fact that it can pop off for block aspects. But it's not costing you foundations; it's costing you momentum. So it's kind of like you're going up a progressive, and but you still got all your foundations. You're not basically going down 2 kind of resources.
Yeah, I don't think that's a hot take at all. Like it's also like way more versatile, right? We don't have to commit their character if their character's not doing anything to us, like defensively. We can just take out their best defensive foundation, which is insane.
Yeah, it's much more main deckable than Blood Curdle.
Most definitely.
Yeah, so yeah, we're living. What else are we missing?
Universus is good. So responses are going to be a lot harder to deal with.
That's good. It means there's less counterplay when if Deku tries to do his thing, you can actually start stopping him.
Season advantage can go into the hole it came out from, and it can stay in there.
How dare you, Brett? How dare you?
I'm sorry. I've come across too many Ymirs going, your first attack has 4 speed. Suck it.
What? Who's playing Seizing in Ymir?
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
But yeah, braces is a big one. You know, Grenadier Braces is almost like a deck archetype on its own, right? To an extent. Like just I'm building a braces deck. Battle Arena, I think, is a big one for those 4-check attacks.
Godzilla losing Battle Arena is a huge one because it stops that momentum pump as well.
Man, again, another card that I'd always try and make work, and it never did, was Flex Your Might.
Flex Your Might was so sick. I played Flex Your Might 1.3 for a little while. That card was dope.
So I was talking with Cal Rock at Nats before we even saw these cards for Critical Role Hex, and he's basically saying no Foundation's Mimic kind of dies because you lose I'm Here, you lose a lot of
I'm Here.
Pretty sure I'm Here's
no
3.
That's like set 4, set 5.
Okay, but yeah, you lose a lot of the good assets that he kind of needs to survive as no Foundation's Mimic, as well as a lot of his response stops from Evil vs. Good. And I'm personally glad to see UA High go when we now have Vexalia, because that just building in a UA High with Vexalia seems nasty.
Yeah, and that card was already kind of like on the edge of like not okay. Picking up like things like Tasty Riff and stuff were just like one of the most heinous things I've ever seen accomplished with a single asset.
Yeah. It is sad to see Command Pigeon Flop go when we've got so many ally cards now, though.
Yeah, it sucks that one didn't get like an update when it got a promo. It kept its original set watermark. And then like cards that like almost saw play, like things like Go for the Win. Go for the Win, like I feel was like way more busted than people ever gave it credit for. So many Fury decks that I saw that just like never ran this card, even though they also stayed at like 3 foundations the entire game.
Yeah. I mean, I think when people were playing those kind of Fury all-in decks, the ones that did better were playing Go for the Win. Like I'm pretty sure Mitch Chimino was playing in his Burt deck, right? I'm fairly certain he was playing at least 1 or 2.
Just going, I'll turn my committed foundation into 2 ready foundations.
Playing around Breaker, playing around things like learning the standards, Go for the Win was probably a little underplayed for actually how good it was. I'm just going to confirm that I'm not going around. Yeah, Mitch Chimino's Bert Hoover was playing 3 Go for the Wins, and
that makes sense. Yeah, you definitely should have played that card.
Yeah, Cheerleader we're keeping. Just going through the old
Cheerleader
foundations we're losing.
Can't Escape Me is a very sad one to be losing because.
Well, we sort of got a better version now. That's just on a flip, and like Can't Escape Me was one of those cards that like I always wanted to have room to to cancel the draw, but just like the remove cost, like the destroy cost, whatever it was just felt too bad.
But it goes into what Marvin was saying earlier. It allows you to build to 11 and punish your opponent for playing a blitz ability that draws cards before they even get to pop off a deadlock. Like if I'm playing against Pony, I was looking at trying to get a deck that had Can't Escape Me so I can cancel the draw abilities and some of the cards. But I couldn't justify it. But it was like I can come to a build to 11 knowing that draw a card is pretty much on every single card you're going to try and play.
Yeah, every deck's best opener is like drawing a card, right? So you have like a 90% chance of like I'll rip myself out of deadlock.
Yeah, it was when I did the Midnight decks in 2023. It was a case of that was when Overhaul was at its peak and Can't Escape Me was the best counter, which is why Void was kind of like dominating because you go, I'll buy some Overhaul. It's like, you will not.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, there's a lot of good foundations losing. I think especially in set 2. So like
Yeah.
Award the Victor. I'm really glad Dissolving the Conflict is going and toning down Ghidorah a bit.
Ghidorah's gonna be so much easier to deal with.
Yeah. Like Spooky.
Spooky is so sad. Spooky is so sad.
Yeah.
Who wrote it?
Evade and Copy. Like Unexpected Hero was always a good one. Like Excited for Blood was like, it was like the Chase Ultra and then just fell out of being played ever. Like Revel. Like I'd always love putting a Revel in my deck. It's just like free damage. He always want some of that. What else he missing from set 2? Like Ice Gliding. Like Ice Gliding was always like that 1/5 speed hate card on those symbols that would always just have a spot in my deck. Like, they'd always be like on those symbols 2 to 3 copies of Ice Gliding. And then
We don't need Ice
Defrosting was a
Gliding, we've got
card that
Mitch
never
Semino.
saw any play that I loved. I loved Defrosting.
We don't need Ice Gliding. We've got Mitch Mino now. He's Ice Gliding on face.
Thankfully, we also lose Sports Festival champ, so the
yeah.
Elder Scroll combo deck is like officially like dead.
Yeah, not dead, but yeah, mostly dead.
Yeah, I can finally interact with it.
Trying to get Emmons a bad one to lose in a combined firepower world.
And then your favorite card is going Petty Squabble.
Yeah, I do love me a good Petty Squabble. Quick to Act goes, which is going to be another hit to Ghidorah.
Yeah.
I'm very sad to see Prone to Dryas go. I'm a big fan of Prone to Dryas.
Yeah, Prone's one of those ones that, again, just sometimes enabled some archetypes because it allowed them to get damage where they didn't have it. So yeah, Prone's a sad one to be leaving.
So one card that I played in the first world that no one played, and I don't think ever saw play outside of me playing it, but whenever I brought it up with people, I was like, why don't people play it? We're losing nothing to see here, which was just basically enhance spend one momentum. This tag gets -3 speed, and I never understood why nobody else ever played it.
Yeah, I guess it's one of those things that they look at the top enhance and never want to use it. So it's like, why am I playing a 2/5 blank that does nothing about no momentum?
Yeah,
so
I was talking with someone like they were saying, "Oh, I need more 2-diffs for my Godzilla deck." I was like, "How much momentum you generate?" And they're like, "Too much, but nothing to see here." Like, what? I was like, "Look it up." He's like, "Oh, that's actually really good for my deck." But yeah, it's one thing. If you've got a lot of momentum out of production, but you're still
if you can figure out the momentum engine, that card's nuts. A card that Deku will be extremely excited to see go, Evade and Copy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it loses some of the pieces, but also loses like one of the best answers in the format to what
A card that's dropped off but was very powerful a couple of years ago, Nullify is going.
Nullify is sick, man. Not enough people played Nullify. That card was dope.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Nullify was good. We get Compression Spheres going, which is a real shame. Death Arm Wallops. We're losing Death Arms, which was arguably one of the best 5-diff tribals before Godzilla.
Yeah. Yeah, I had some fun times with Death Arms occasionally. He never really ever got there, was never really good enough, but yeah, I had some fun times with Death Arms.
Outside like the staples like Stun Grenade, like you're saying, I don't think too many decks are actually losing things that they kind of use. Nathan Squire's R-rated deck gets a bit weaker because he loses Trapflex.
Yeah, like it doesn't feel like we're losing too much in terms of maybe apart from maybe the Fury package, like archetype defining stuff.
Yeah, I think only Furies like took like a huge hit that like doesn't just get auto replaced by something in Exandria.
Yeah,
there's a lot
of we've lost a lot of like the almost like the workman like pieces, like the bits that are kind of almost like holding the deck together to an extent. So things like new training method, like struggling with studies, ice sliding, surviving the final,
carbo loading,
basic training, like carbo loading. Like, Emir takes obviously a reasonably big hit. I mean, solely just for new training method.
For sure.
But Emir loses a bunch from the rotation. So, but again, all these decks can sort of recover and rebuild. But just take that power level and that consistency level hit. So like, two of those premier aggro decks in Emir and Pony just like losing new training method is such a huge hit for those decks because again, Pony wants to build hard, but it allowed you to play 3 diffs when you're running 2 checks a bit safer, and now you don't have that safety net anymore, and you basically have to play Lethal Slash.
Yeah, and like we can't pick up our bing bongs, right? Like I saw so many players with new training method just never use its in-stage response, which is insane because I picked up so many copies of Feral Streak and Any Means Necessary.
Yeah. But no. I don't know what you're saying. Like Pony just pilots itself. There's no skill to it.
Yeah, true.
Like there's no skill to playing Pony. It's just autopilot, and there's no decisions you have to make, and everything just runs.
You're right. I forgot because I was on autopilot. I forgot that it was no skill required.
It just did it itself.
I think Marvin's identified the deck that struggles the most from it is that Elders to Go now has to kind of pivot and find a new strategy because without Sports Festival champ, it doesn't have the guaranteed hit. We lose high value. Is high value target sticking around? I think that goes.
High value staying.
Yeah, okay. High value and Forcing Surrender both have the League of Villains.
Yes.
It was high value target, League of Villains, Forcing Surrender. There should have been 5, wasn't there? I can't remember what the other 2 were.
There's the set 1 card, the Infinite Potential. Yep.
Yeah. I'm sure there was 5. It was Infinite Potential the one with All Might's face on it? Because I'm sure there was one with All Might's face on it.
Possibly. Why would you?
It's his 6 check, right? It's
Determined. Yeah, there we go. We got there eventually. But yeah, so obviously Determined didn't rotate anyway. But yeah, so those 3, so League Interview, Forcing Surrender, and High Value all just stay in the format, which is good. Like I like a Forcing Surrender, and I think
those cards will see like a ton of play, like even more so now with like there's a lot of applications to Forcing Surrender in Heroes of Exandria.
Yeah, combined 5-power anyone?
Oh, we get to keep drowning your resentment.
What's that? Sorry,
you get to keep drowning your resentment.
Yeah, okay, that might be one of them. I can't remember if there was 5 or 6. Again,
there's
I think
7.
Is Drowning the one that I think it is?
Drowning is the one that response flip after a card leaves a discard pile due to your rival's non-character effect. They add the top card of their deck to their card pool. And it also has enhanced flip. This stun attack gets +2 minus damage, but it's that bottom response that's the big one that go. Oh
yeah, it was one of those weird cards that had very weird interactions that never did quite what you wanted it to do, especially with things like the specialized sound waves. There was just it never quite interacted the way you wanted it, like Drowning to interact.
It'd be fine if it wasn't the fact that combined firepower is a playability, which means it's not leaving due to an effect. So you can't respond.
Exactly. So you don't want it to, so it doesn't work. So basically, it never quite worked the way you wanted that card to work.
It was on the fringes.
Yeah. So it never saw any play because it never quite did the thing you wanted it to do. But yeah, so there's a lot in these 2 sets, and I think it's just. So I guess in terms of
diffs that are getting hit the biggest.
Yeah, I think that's fine. No, I think I think to me it's the aggro decks are going to lose some consistency in terms of the 0 diffs. I think those 7-hander kind of Earth Life builds just losing new training method means again they take that step back. I think that the Fury pack is just losing the consistency of things like Stun Grenade, hurts. Losing like all those 0s, but like. I think a lot of the big players in the format will still exist, but they just get toned down a little bit because they lose those 1 or 2 key cards. Like Cresta is still a deck, but doesn't quite be as good without like struggling with just being able to sort of rebuy those stuff again takes that step back. So I think it just everything loses like a little cog here and there. But I think, it's the new training method decks that I think will probably feel it the most.
I don't think we're losing anything that isn't being replaced in what we already have or what's coming with Critical Role, apart from what players would probably identify as the limiting cards, like new training method, which was allowing to pick stuff up and kind of exceed your limits, struggling with studies, which was limiting your opponent's attacks before putting you. It's kind of freeing up these limits to go. You can now be a bit more aggressive. If you want to control, you're going to have to change it up a little bit and not just go, here's the same 16 cards over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
Avoiding the conflict is a great example of that, because Ghidorah just goes, if I'm playing Ghidorah, I have to have avoiding the conflict. Resolving the conflict.
Yeah, dissolving, I think takes, is a big hit for Ghidorah, which I'm okay with. Yeah. Totally okay.
So it's not going to be as big as it hits. It's got a lot of stuff coming in. It's still very powerful. It might just need a bit of a symbol change.
Yeah, no, for sure. Some of these like control decks that people don't like really want to believe are as successful as the aggro decks, but like they clearly are going to like take some hits. Even like Rodon. Rodon losing a Racerhead 2's kit is like actually like so brutal for that character. Losing things like the draw one when your character's committed, losing things like Spooky. So, they're gonna have to find different things. They have things they have things in Heroes of Exandria.
Well, Rodon might just turn into an aggro deck.
Yeah, Science Bros.
Yeah, exactly. Science Bros. Yeah, just turns into actually, I'm just going to find some damage from somewhere, give everything stats to Science Bros, and everything's coming in for ability, and I'm going to kill you on 2 rather than like a control deck.
I've always said the biggest issue when you've got things like Ghidorah versus, say, Pony is Ghidorah has to see all of their pieces to successfully win the game, whereas Pony just needs to see them to kill you quicker.
Yeah, for sure. Like you can see it in my match against Rodon. That poor guy blocked me 5 times and still died for it.
Yeah. I heard some people saying, "Oh, he's going to get, Pony's going to Rodan, probably a rough match." I'm like, no, I think like Rodan's almost a buy. Like, and again, no shade against obviously the guy playing Rodan.
He played super well, but what can you do against 11 attacks?
When Godzilla's got 34 health, they can go, I can take the 4 damage attacks and block this stuff that's above like a 6. Whereas Rodan is a case of, I need to block everything or I die.
Yeah, and sometimes that doesn't matter against like Godzilla. Like, again, I felt like I was 55-45 against Godzilla in general.
Yeah,
like when I was playing it.
It was one of those things that they needed to see everything to take you down, which unfortunately they did. Whereas you kind of a case of, it'd be good if you surfing so you could kill them quickly, but as long as you saw more pieces than they did and you could get going. But unfortunately at Nats it didn't fall that way for you, but it could have quite easily done that way. I mean, your game against Leo on stream showed off how close you were to dominating the top player of the EU.
No, I played against Jonathan. Oh, you're talking about when Mom.
I thought you was Leo, but Jonathan's deck was still really powerful.
Yeah. He was obviously, he top 8'd, I'm pretty sure, right?
You don't need to be good to top 8. You just need to be lucky. I can tell you that from experience.
Yeah, just don't check the 2 on the first build turn. But yeah, so I'm excited overall for rotation. Like, I think some people don't like it because they lose like their pack cards or they lose some cards they really enjoy playing. But I think just freshening up a format is really good.
It's fine. It's 2025. It's the year of retro. If you want to play your pet cards, there's the format for it.
True. Just go play Rochester Retro, guys. Yeah, no. When rotation was like first said for like set 1, I was like honestly like a pretty big hater on it. I think there's even a video out there where I cry about it. But after that rotation, after like seeing how much the format really did like kind of just get turned upside down, I really, really like how we rotate things in this card game. And I'm very, very excited. It lets the new set shine, right? Like like Heroes of Exandria would not shine anywhere near as much if these cards just still existed. Where now, because of new training method being gone, I'm looking at things like Warden's Protection. I never would have looked at that 3-diff ever in my life had I still had new training method. But
it's one of those things that even cards like Younger Toguro and all these and like Godzilla and stuff in case of, that's fine, but they're not Texas smashing you in the face for 15 damage, so I don't care.
Exactly.
yeah, so like I think overall, yeah, there are cards I will miss in these sets, but like certainly I think there'll be one or two in set 3 I miss, but honestly I found myself kind of going to the set 3 binder less and less. I think set 4 is the one that's going to have the least impact because I think actually set 4 hasn't aged well at all.
Vile seizing.
Yeah, and that's it. I mean,
no. But because you're forgetting that we're going into the Caleb Pillar Fort meta, where Hold Hostages is going to be the best card in the game, because Caleb just gets to go, I'm going to rip a card from your hand and burn you for one.
Anywho, yeah, and there'll be like I said, there's just a lot of those little cog pieces that I'm going to miss from these sets. Like you're struggling, you're ice gliding, that sort of thing. And
Marvin missed the introduction, but I said I've been one of the biggest set 2 supporters since day one. Set 2's only crime was it followed set 1. It's a powerful set that had a lot of stuff banned and has a lot of key cards. It's just, as Richard quite rightly pointed out, its URs and characters aren't as good and shiny as set 1, but its uncommons and its like key found pieces for your decks were on par with any other set. It's a strong staple set. Which
it's just not exciting to open. Is the problem? Is the issue, right? I mean, like I just kind of going through sort of the ultra rares, like Airstream Driver is okay, but again, never certainly early on, never really saw what he play. Like Harris Impact Cyclone was a cool one to get. Like Electromagnetic Stomp was fine. Like Acid Corrosion Breach, like nobody ever wanted to play 2s that went Spawn Ways. Double Jab Pummel, nobody ever played that card. Like
it was also following on from like going, okay, the secret rares in set 1 are Nitro Explosion and 5%, and like these are really powerful cards that people are hunting. You go, set 2, what do we get? Drop Kick Slicer. Cool. Not gonna see play apart from in like as a one-off in some very cool decks, of which like Mike Hardiman's Momo when I played up against it was.
Yeah, well, no, you say that, but like the Unfun Stuff crew brought Dropkick Slicer decks to day one of Worlds, right? First Worlds, and Dropkick Slicer was a cool ass card, right? And it's a shame it was all unchecked, and then I don't know what the thought behind Joint Effort Offensive was, because like that bottom enhanced never had an application that I can remember ever on any sort of back or Midoriya.
Yeah, those SRs are definitely rough compared to like Nitro Explosion Ignition seen play until it rotated.
Yeah, and obviously like the full cowling was good in spots, but then like there was just so many of the ultra rares in Crimson Rampage that just felt like they could have been an uncommon.
And what in set 3 it was Heroes Clash and Aggressive Clash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like Heroic Clash again was a cool card. Aggressive Clash was just terrible. At least there were ultra rares in set 3 that were cool, right? Like Blood Moon Rending, everyone sort of loved that card to begin with. Like Focused Attack, Hulking Grimace, Piercing Needle, Stun Grenade, Somnambulism, Twisting Azure, right? Wind Up Punch. So they were cool ultra rares. It's just obviously we had the issue of it being overprinted and the whole chrome rare thing of it just flooding the market with no value.
Richard keeps mentioning like cogs, like you're losing cogs in your deck, and like that's like the entirety of set 3, right?
Yeah.
Set 3 was just like here's a bunch of cards that you can put in your already built decks.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, the singles market got flooded because this is the first time we had chromes. We didn't know how often they were going to be, and especially when we got League of Villains and there was no chromes, it made them even more desirable. So it was over-purchased and the single market kind of just dropped.
Yeah, where like it's just like where it got to the point where a box of set 3 just wasn't worth the shipping almost.
Rochester was selling them at Worlds for about $17, but unlimited because there's no chrome.
Yeah. So I think that hurt a lot of retailers. That what happened with set 3 of like just having this product that just wouldn't sell, because why would I buy a box for like $80 wherever it is when I can go out and buy a playset of all the ultra rares for $70? Like
I think set 3 was to put it in the most dramatic terms possible, Set 3 was the beginning of the decline of this game in Europe as well, because it was delayed. The Unlimited like first edition spread wasn't the best. The Plus Ultras were very delayed, and so when we came to the webcam, webcam nationals, it was if you had the Plus Ultras, if you had the petty squabbles, if you had the seasoning advantages, you had a leg up on pretty much any other person that was playing.
You have to be a right dick to be one of those guys.
And then it was also a case of mainland Europe. The players got annoyed because they were seeing they were going to the webcam nationals, and they were playing against cards that they just never got access to before that event, so they were all at a massive disadvantage. And I was very active in German servers and French servers, and they slowly kind of pulled away from the game. And it's part of why whenever I speak to UVS and when we did the summit and everything last year, I always keep going, you need to rebuild these bridges in mainland Europe. Especially if you can get in Italy. Italy is so intense for card games.
Yeah, it was just a big deal, right? Everyone looked at season advantage and was like, this card's cracked. Yeah. We need access to it for nationals. And then loads of people just didn't. And then, I got to, skill issue myself with Petty Squabble and sort of had access to that for Tokyo Army and just kind of luck-sacked my way. But yeah, actually, like the Plus Ultra for set 3 was almost like one of the best things about that set.
Oh, yeah, and like one of the worst. Like Plus Ultra of set 3 is like definitely what like set me on my path of like, this can't happen anymore. Like, we cannot have mechanically unique cards that are like this hard to obtain early. My locals, like, because like with those cards, we had seizing, we had rapid punches, we had the hardened barrage. Yeah. Those 3 cards were like very, very played in like so many decks in that format. You needed 4 ofs on all of them, so it made like a lot of locals, even in like North America, pretty toxic, because they weren't going to be available for redemption by the first event. So everybody wanted them. It was not a great time.
Yeah, and I know I'm just saying like the cards were some of the cheapest because it was kind of overdone. But then you had the opposite effect with Chivalrous Competitor, which was a box topper, which was only accessible by buying them, but maintained this ridiculously high price up until one diff draw became over flooded.
Yeah, I mean, again, it was one of those things of. And one of the great decisions that the UVS made was getting rid of the quirk packs. Yeah. Like, again, quirk packs would have been fine if they were like alt arts, but they were mechanically unique. You got 2 per box, and it was like there were 5 of them, and it was random. And it wasn't just, again, if they were like box topper characters, like obviously there were usually a couple in those quirk packs, but if they were just characters, it'd be like, okay, those characters will have a bit of value, but basically once you've got one, you're fine, and therefore you'll be able to get the ones you don't get on the secondary market, and there won't be huge amounts of value. But you needed 4 Chivalrous Competitor. Like if you were playing Symbol and like the Chaos Symbol was just like everyone was playing Tokyo Army and stuff, or like playing on Earth, and so you needed 4. So they were just $50 at one point, right? Because you just needed to have 4 of them. They were just a staple because like the card in your turn was so much more. It just gave you. There's so much value in having that as this 1/5 that also then sometimes protected your better foundations. It was just
I can't remember what the meta
foundation
was.
That should have been maybe an uncommon or something in the set was just this quirk pack that was really hard to get a hold of. Even with the amount that was opened, like again, you're getting like 1.5 per 3 boxes or whatever, something along those lines. I don't know what the maths is, but yeah, and so you're just not getting enough. There just wasn't enough supply for the amount of demand. Like everyone just wanted 4.
I can't remember what the meta was, but there was Chivalrous Competitor shut down a deck completely. I don't remember which one it was, but he kind of just went, you don't get to do what you're trying to do. And that's why he pumped up. I cannot for the life remember which character it was that was just destroying foundations.
Was it a destroy or was it a discard thing?
It was. I'm pretty sure it was a destroy thing because it was. Oh, it was Shigaraki 1. It was when you couldn't stop Shigaraki 1, but he was running all the other stuff, like the decays and his entire kit kind of just got shut down because you went Chivalrous Competitor. You're not killing me quickly. There we go. I don't know if that was just me because one of my locals ran Shigaraki 1 and I kept getting put into him in events. But she was compared to just shutting down Touch Decay and all the Shigaraki 1 stuff that basically said on hit or Sack 1 Foundation, your rival Sacks 1, just kind of shut down that package and kind of put it back where it belonged.
Yeah, and like again, it was like primarily seen playing like these super aggressive decks. Then it would also just like save its best piece. You'd try to interact with these decks, try to flip your best foundation, and then be like, "No, I'll flip this one instead."
Yeah, exactly. You want to touch my Woman Nature? No.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
And then if you didn't try, well, it's like, well, I've got another card to use for a Woman Nature now.
Yeah.
That was kind of the crazy thing with the Woman Nature stuff is everyone forgets Struggling with Studies has a second ability that can prevent flip as well. So you can have 8 cards in your deck that protected Woman Nature from being flipped and 4 that said it couldn't be destroyed.
Yeah, absolutely insane.
I am very sad that we're going to see Nezu go before Mitchell Cimino had twisted UVS to make him a pro hero. And
True.
Yeah. It was a shame that Mop Strike was just like cracked in everyone, and you couldn't just sort of do fun Nezu things with Mop Strike. And everyone just kind of ruined Nezu's time in the sun by abusing Mop Strike and every other character.
Make it Botan and Nezu only.
Yeah.
This card has Botan's face in it. Yeah, but it's Nezu only.
Yeah, it was a shame. Yeah, again, another character that was really cool and just, was never quite good enough.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Nezu has his place. I know Corin, one of the Sheffield players, has a unfun Nezu list, which is going to get slammed into the ground with evil versus good going and stuff like that. It's one of the things that we're losing a lot of control pieces, and control players are going to have to work arguably a lot harder to replace those pieces than the aggressive players that go, oh, well, I lost these attacks, I'm just going to put these ones in instead.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's so many like aggressive pieces in Exandria that are like very, very easy swaps, where the control decks are going to have to like definitely like have a closer eye on the set of like what's useful versus what's not.
Yeah, like, those, I'm just trying to think of other pieces, but like, just again, like one of the biggest control decks being Ghidorah, and like losing Zolb in the conflict, I think is also a big hit there.
Yeah. Losing Zolb in the conflict is a massive hit. Petty Squall was a big hit for a few decks that are kind of still floating around, but not too many anymore.
Yeah, they're all on your UBS Ultra, Brett. That was it.
Cat's Claw Face Grab would have been a massive loss if Mimic hadn't already been taken out back in shot.
Yeah, but I think from that the defensive piece, like Struggling, obviously being the big kind of premier defensive piece on those symbols, just being able to rebuy your breakers or defensive actions or whatever, and just saying, are you sure you want to attack me 3 times? Again, that's a big hit there. So like I think just again, we've probably covered a lot of the actual cards themselves, but just overall, I think I'm sort of happy to say goodbye to them, to say goodbye to set 2 and 3. I think they've been around for long enough now. I think it's time to move on and put them out back, and get the shotgun out with them. But I think it's their time has been and gone, and it's time to move on to newer and more or bigger things.
So I guess the big question we're kind of dancing around is so to put some context in. When I was at Worlds, I was speaking with Mitchell, and I spoke to Keenan Meadows, who was King of Swiss in last year's qualifier, and their kind of consensus was Heroes of Exandria is very cool and very powerful. If we weren't in the meta we were in, if we weren't in the Pony Ymir kind of meta, are the losses from set 2 enough to impact the meta enough that Heroes of Exandria is going to actually get to shine?
I don't think so. Like this is like a twofold thing for me. I don't think the hits from set 2 and 3 are enough to like stop things like Pony and Ymir. It'll just like set them back a turn. But like decks still have to find a way to then like punish them for that, which they're the decks that are punishing them for that, right? Like they're the decks that can put out such an egregious like turn 2, turn 3 kill. So like decks definitely have to find a way to do that. But I also don't agree with the sentiment that like Heroes of Exandria would be good if X didn't exist, because like X is now going to be things like Vax, things like Percy. Like I don't think people are looking at these decks hard enough. We're still on like day zero here, right? Like we're just now collecting the actual cardboard to sling these things. But yeah, I think Heroes of Exandria will like actually find its own like foothold in the format more than people tend to believe.
Yeah. So I think there's sort of there's several layers to it, right? So there's the layer of like what gets hit with rotation, and I think Pony and Amir being like probably the premier 7-hand size aggro in the format, they do get hit and they do get brought back to the pack a little bit, and I don't know they gain huge amounts from the new set. Like I like Pony gets the odd bit here and there, and I'd imagine the same with Amir, but I don't think they gain huge amounts. So I think where they're probably maybe in that kind of tier ahead, maybe they get brought back a little bit. I think in terms of Exandria itself and the impact those cards and characters have, I don't know if this it's sort of a what's what I'm thinking of comparison I made before with AOT, and that proved to not be the true at all. But I think this one might be a little bit more apt. I don't know whether it's something that Brett will understand, or I don't know if you'll get the reference, Marvin, but it's a bit Mercadian Mask-y. So this is a Magic reference going back to the mid to late 90s. So they had Combo Winter, which was they had Urza's Block, right? Which was hugely powerful set, ridiculous combo stuff, massive broken nonsense, like turn 1 kills left, right, and center. And it was a wasteland of just everyone dying on turn 1 and getting comboed out, and creeps didn't matter. So then they banned loads of stuff and they released this set called Mercadian Mask, which was a very, very real shift of power level, like hugely, a huge power down, because they sort of had to, because it was the power creep was going up and up and up, and they had to power down. And like I initially thought AOT might be a bit of that, but actually there were too many power outliers in AOT, and it was just there was a lot of like draft chaff. But actually, when it came to like the constructed stuff, AOT almost kept the creep going. Whereas I think, at least my first sort of impressions with Heroes of Exandria is it is a little power down. So it's a bit Mercadian Mask. They're trying to curb the power creep a little. At least that's my feeling. But by doing that, what they've done is in Heroes of Exandria, there's a lot more interesting just doing stuff rather than just herder big numbers. There's a lot more you're going to do stuff with moving pieces. The issue is whether that then finds a space in a world of Godzillas, Rodans, Ghidorahs, but ponies, Emirs, whoever you want to put as like your meta champions, Sashas, Panjis, right? Will they have that impact? And I think some of them will, but I think it might take a bit of a while to find a space for some of these, certainly from the characters, to find a space in the meta. And I think it will take a bit. They will take a bit more work to get like competitive. I think there's some, like for example, a Grog. I can see, he's a fairly straightforward character build. I think in terms of making lists that can do stuff. I think Percy's really strong, but I think some of these other characters will take a bit more work. And I think where there is that what feels like a power down to an extent, it might not feel like it has the impact that you'd want, but I think overall that's a good thing for the game and to curb the power creep somewhat.
Makes a lot of sense. So the last thing I'll bring up, because it's now 11 o'clock for us, is with Denver essentially 2 weeks away, and with Heroes of Exandria coming in, is there anything that UVS can ban on Tuesday, because we have our March ban list, that can kind of help the meta at the minute as we move into Denver and Heroes of Exandria season?
Walk the dog.
Yeah, like we're talking like chaos, like walk the dog, but like we didn't like super see chaos like really like show out at like worlds or anything, which is like kind of interesting. I think if you wanted to touch Ymir, it's just Immortal Shapeshifter. Like Ymir is like the most interesting character for me compared to Heroes of Exandria, because I think Ymir is currently the only character in the game that is completely stunting one of the Heroes of Exandria characters in Pike. I think Pike is like almost unplayable because Ymir exists, which is like really unfortunate because this is like a pretty interesting character. Gain one on every enhanced step should be like really good. Should want to see play, but because of Ymir existing, it just likely will not. So yeah, I think you could like hit Immortal, and then if you think Pony's still a problem, I don't think like a lot of people think Feral Streak's the answer. I completely disagree. You want to hit Lethal Slash. If you want to hit that character, kill the card that's allowing her to play 11 attacks against you.
Yeah.
I think Pike suffers from the Dabby 3 problem, where it's a case of Dabby 3 comes in and go, look at all these cool check matters cards. It's like, yeah, go on to Shigaraki 3. It's like, oh, Dabby 3 doesn't get to see play. And it's like, look at all these health game matters cards for Pike. Cool. They're going to be great in Ymir.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's like one of the only like direct comparisons that it's like, yeah, no, this is completely shutting down a character and that's it.
Yeah. So I think for me, I think Pony takes enough of a hit with new training methods, seizing, chivalrous, and any means necessary that you could just let Pony ride, and I think it'd be fine. If you are going to hit anything, then Lethal Slash is 100% the card. And honestly, I wouldn't totally hate a Lethal Slash ban. I think the card is bonkers. But I don't think it necessarily needs to be, but that'll be it. That's the one. Like, I think anyone who thinks anything else in the deck is too egregious is just wrong. I still think I want Walk the Dog gone so that, we can block again.
Yeah, not being able to block determined advance is really horrible.
Yeah, it's like I could block your determined advance, but then I'm just going to get hit by the Walk the Dog. And so I guess I'm taking 6 or 9 or whatever it is, and then you didn't have it anywhere, and I could have. I just don't like the Walk the Dog experience. I think you could hit combined firepower, but I think there are enough of the Exandria characters that do cool actiony things that want to have a combined firepower to give them a bit of that power boost. I think you can leave it. I would possibly like to see some of the DR package get toned down even more. Obviously, we got Not Last nerfed, but whether that is Shapeshifter, whether that's Recoup Time, whether that is the greater goal. But I think toning down some of that DR package, I think, again, is just healthier for the game. Make it about attacking and blocking. The more you can get down to that. I mean, having DR, I think, is acceptable. But I think just toning some of that down, like taking a piece away, I think
you don't want to launch 31 attacks at Grog because he has DR down to 1.
Yeah, I think, again, toning down the DR, I think, is healthier for the game. I wouldn't hate seeing an errata to Deku just taking away the one punch. Like, just say, form your next attack gets +3/+3, or some sort of cap to that form, so you can just do it once per attack.
Yeah, that guy showed up like a ton at Worlds, and not only showed up, but like was extremely successful for some of them. That guy, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of an NP-ish. I don't think it's a necessarily particularly interactive or fun game experience. But again, the sort of game team might like to have the idea of having this combo in the format. Because it's not a quick combo, right? It's not turn 2ing you. So it's like, okay, well, it's something you can pressure and therefore win against, and there are answers, so they might be okay with it.
It goes back to I think Deku needs to see everything and survive long enough to do it, because in a 75 card deck, when you're running 10 attacks, there are just going to be those games where you just don't see an attack.
Yeah, but for me, I just get rid of Walk the Dog, get rid of one part of the DR package, and then let it ride and see what happens.
I think the real answer is that it's going to be no changes. We want to see how.
It's like 100% no changes.
And I completely agree with that answer. I think like enough changed for me to want to like just let Denver ride out and see like what appears at the top. Like you're gonna have your in every region we're gonna have like our best players at these first regionals. You two will be at your regional. Some of the best NA players will be featured in Denver, and like those guys are going to be like deck building like crazy. It's not going to be the same exact decks that we saw at Worlds. It literally can't be because these cards have been rotated. So
yeah. And that is one of the things I do like about the new OP system is that under the old OP system, UVS weren't getting data until the events happened, and they were only happening like for 1 month, and then a new set was coming out, so the whole system changed anyway. Whereas now we're going to have Denver, and problem cards can be addressed before the UK, and then after the UK, more problem cards or stuff can come back before we get into
it's really nice. We get to see like everybody's rendition like across like the ban list, and like there's even room like we when they first announced like their ban and errata update, like all of these cards like can come back, right? We've never seen that because all of the cards that have been hit have been things like Back Alley Haymaker, You're One with Nature, things that we'll never want to see back. But if they ever did overcorrect, like you could swap that in between a regional, right? Like, oh hey, okay, maybe this one's no longer as bad. Let's let it ride.
Yeah, we've seen it a lot with Retro and with the suspension list for Rochester Retro, where they're going, these are problems we've identified, but if we can find out that they're not, we'll bring them back. And with Goro and Shiva, they came back for standard Retro, but then Rochester like, no, they're still a problem. They need to go back.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I'd love to see something like that. One question I have for you both before we kind of like wrap it up here, and I already have my answer. Like, I think it's a pretty obvious one, but this question will become more interesting as more sets release and we have more rotations happen. Do you think this rotation was better, worse, or neutral compared to MHA set 1? Like, did we lose more pieces, or was it just MHA 1 was like that busted?
Man. Well, I think it's gonna hurt less. Like, there were definitely some stuff in MHA1 that I like. Void Kicks, I love, and Jiro and Tokiyami. Like, those were very dear to my heart, and losing those hurt. Whereas all these are like as I talked about, like there's nothing here. There's the odd card that I really like your stun grade and stuff, but it's just all cog pieces that were just kind of, they filled holes here and there. They weren't really. I don't feel like I'm losing archetypes with losing these. I'm losing pieces. Whereas I felt with MHA1, I lost archetypes because those cards are cracked in half, and you just play on one card. So, but just the volume, I think there's certainly cards you're gonna miss, and you're gonna build decks, and you're like, oh shit, I can't put that card in there anymore because that's now rotated. Just like little things like ice gliding, you're gonna miss that sort of stuff. So, I don't think it is going to be as impactful just because of how much more powerful set 1 was compared to set 2 and 3. But obviously, we're losing more of a breadth of cards. That's.
See, I'm the other way around. I think this one's going to hurt more than losing set 1. Because although in set 1 we lost It Can't Be Fixed, Jolt, we lost a lot of very powerful cards. With Yu Hakusho and the Challengers, more powerful cards were coming in at the same time. Botan's Coaching, Mop Strike, all these cards, younger to go, the hype for what was coming out to what was coming in was kind of replaceable. And because we were only losing one set of like 180 cards, it wasn't as impactful because we were getting another set of 180 cards in. Not that I'm saying Critical Role isn't as hype or isn't as powerful. The cards feel a lot slower. There's no bombs. There's no Battle Hour release. There's no Mop Strike. There's no Botan's Coaching. There's no real standout cards that go, these are going to be the replacements for what's leaving. But the Heroes of Exandria is still a very cool, very well-designed set that's bringing in very good cards. But when you look at Heroes of Exandria, go, there's no replacements for my Zero Diffs. There's no replacements for a lot of cards that are coming out. It's going to hit harder than set 1 where you're like, okay, I can shift off Earth and go to Death, and I get my Botan's Coaching, I get my Battle Hour release, I'm ready to go in. People are going to have to work a lot harder in a very short period of time to get ready for Denver, which is why I think...
Because there's no replacement for Double Jab Pummel, is there?
Oh, no. what do you mean? There's lots of check hacking. There's no replacement for cheerful uppercut because I've actually forgotten the goddamn name. The Minata card, Runaway. Runaway is not a double jab pummel replacement, and it never will be. Not double jab, but cheerful uppercut. I love cheerful uppercut so much. I'm so sad to see that go, and it really does hurt. I'm very excited to get my hands on Caleb. I'm very excited to get my hands on the stuff that we've seen there. But from a control aspect, the Dawn Star Sword is a very cool learning the standards downgrade, but it's not learning the standards.
Yeah, no, that's super fair. I like both of your answers. I think this question will be like more interesting once we lose things like jet burn and whatnot. You know, like I think like that. Then we'll get to like an actual power level discussion of like, oh yeah, this was like close enough to set one to be like brutal. But yeah, no, I'm kind of like in between both of you, where like yes, we lose so many like spam pieces and stuff that will hurt so many decks across the board, but probably nothing as powerful as things like hardened jab word, you know, stuff like that. So
yeah. I mean. Next, when we wrote it out, next time we lose Jaw Jammer, we lose Godzilla, we lose a lot of.
We don't lose Godzilla, right? We lose what 4, 5, 6.
But we lose Jetburn. We lose Jetburn. No, Jetburn. Yeah, we lose. We lose the challenges.
Yeah, we lose 4, 5, 6.
No, we don't lose challenges yet. No.
I think because Trigun and Cowboy were like a January release, right? So
I think that's going to be the one that hits the hardest when we lose that like 2,000 card year we had last year. So when we lose Yu Hakusho, we lose all the challenges. When we lose that massive chunk of cards, that's going to be a big
one. We've added more to the pool as it goes along. So again, we'll just have to.
But will we have added more enhances? By the time we get to that, Yu Hakusho will be our last kind of enhance. Yu Hakusho and Girl Power will be our last enhanced sets, and we will lose a massive chunk of cards.
I welcome this world of Blitz, Brett. I welcome it.
But think of Nick Reagan. What is Nick Reagan going to do in a Blitz world? Oh, powerful 4 and everything.
Hopefully catching a Rada after Denver. That's what he's going to do.
That would be decent. But yeah, I've got a video that I'm going to put out on Friday with Nick where we talk about the fact that it would be really nice if he'd been told Blitz was going to be a thing so he could start his character.
Yeah, true.
So yeah, I guess we can sort of think about wrapping it up there.
Yeah.
So I guess any final sort of shout outs or anything from you, Marvin?
No, just to you guys. Super appreciate you guys having me on. Sorry my meeting went a little bit late, but very, very much appreciate you guys having me on, and I'm more than happy to be on again anytime. So thanks for having me.
Are you in the content creator collab thing that
I am? Yeah, I joined that. Yeah.
Cool. If you want to do some more content with me, I'm always looking to set up groups for my boss battles. It's under the PV Me channel.
I'm super down. I just did boss battles at locals. Those are so much fun.
They're great fun. I DM the boss and I get people to come in and we do them. I've got one going up this week with Ty's House of Cards, Charles Barkley, and Ace Maneuvers.
Hell yeah!
Yeah, it's a great one. And now we've got all the bosses. I want to get more out there because I've been hearing Broberg talk about DMing Lorenzo and stuff like that. It's been great. I want to get my teeth in that. So feel free to drop a message in there. We'll get a group going for that. And where can people find your content?
Yeah, pretty much exclusively on YouTube. Undefeated at locals. We're a little less consistent than we used to be. You used to see actually daily videos, but you'll see at least weekly videos load up. Mostly like the competitive scene. That's kind of our shtick in the game. But yeah, hit us up on there. Like, comment, subscribe, and hit up Universus as well, guys. Always watch the stream. I've been a constant watcher of you guys, so super appreciate you.
Yeah, that was one of the biggest things I felt Worlds was like having people come up to going, oh, you're like a community celebrity or a pillar of the community and stuff like that. No, I just make content on crazy theories because I want to get them out of my head. What do you mean?
So yeah, obviously, great thanks to Marvin for joining us. Obviously, for those watching and chat, thank you very much. If you are watching this on YouTube, thank you very much again. Obviously, click all the buttons, like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. It really helps. And obviously go check out Undefeated Locals, because if you don't, I won't like you anymore. But yeah, other than that, we will catch you next one. Yeah, thanks very much, everyone.
Yeah. Catch you on the next one. Leave a comment down below. What cards are you going to miss the most? What cards are you happy to see go? And on the next Undefeated Locals video, go on there and say, bring back Struggling with Studies, and let's see how many people we can get to put that on there. Catch you on the next one, and great having you on as always, Marvin. Hopefully we can get some more content out with you in the future.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Bye.